Hello and welcome back to Green Money Momentum, where we talk about market movements, making money, and money momentum. And the markets are moving right now. So this is Sunday, May 11th. Again, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. We have just seen a big gap up in the triple Qs here, so the NASDAQ, and we also have seen a big gap up in the S&P 500. So we can see the SPY has had a big gap up as well. So a 1.23% movement in the SPY. And then again, when we look at the triple Qs, also a 1.64% movement. So up $7. And the markets are moving because of this big news right here. So before I get into this Truth Social post, there was actually one earlier, and that was when Trump said earlier today that my next truth will be one of the most important and impactful I have ever issued. Enjoy. So we knew going into the big announcement that was just an hour ago, anybody who follows Donald Trump on Truth Social knew that there was going to be something big happening. And I have been just on my edge since that first Truth Social post there, because I know with Trump, he heavily moves the market. So I just talked about this in my last video, but the whole markets are around Trump's finger. And so Trump is moving the markets by himself. Basically, all he has to say is something about the markets, and the markets will move. It's funny how much influence he really does have. So there is a lot of factors in the market, but he is one of the biggest movers. And so the big news came from just an hour ago. He said, for many years, the world has wondered why prescription drugs and pharmaceuticals in the United States of America were so much higher in price than they were in any other nation, sometimes being 5 to 10 times more expensive than the exact same drug manufactured in the exact same laboratory or plant by the same company. And as an American, this is absolutely true. With the drug epidemic and with big pharma, this has been talked about for many years, how many drugs such as insulin are so highly priced and how so many Americans get squeezed because of the prescription drug prices in America. I know just myself, some individuals who have actually went to Mexico before to buy their prescription drugs instead of doing it here in the United States, just because of those costs. So the big plan behind Donald Trump is all coming together with these tariffs. So now we're going to have those prescription drugs sold here in the United States for a more fair price. So maybe I won't have to see my friend go down to Mexico to buy those same prescription drugs he could buy out here. So Trump also writes on this. He said, it was always difficult to explain and very embarrassing because, in fact, there was no correct or rightful answer. The pharmaceutical drug companies would say for years that it was research and development costs, and that all of these costs were and would be for no reason whatsoever borne by the suckers of America alone. Campaign contributions can do wonders, but not with me and not with the Republican Party. We are going to do the right thing, something that the Democrats have fought for many years. Therefore, I am pleased to announce that tomorrow morning in the White House at 9 a.m., I will be signing one of the most consequential executive orders in our country's history. And he says that prescription drug and pharmaceutical prices will be reduced almost immediately by 30 to 80%. So the big numbers we need to look at here are the 30 to 80%. So some massive reductions in the cost of drugs. We know a lot of Americans have to be very pleased with this because, again, the cost of prescription drugs is so high. So many Americans are going to be saving here. We can all rejoice from this news. But the other number that is huge here is 9 a.m. And so he is talking about Eastern Standard Time. So this is going to be right when the markets are opening tomorrow, which explains the big gap that we have seen here. So we are just moving up on this news, and the whole markets in general have been in a much more bullish trend recently. So we know since the beginning of Trump's presidency, the markets have been trailing down for the most part. We were in this nasty downward cycle, or in this nasty downwards trend, for quite some time. A lot of individuals were hating on Donald Trump. Many were just upset at him because Donald Trump is again closely tied to the markets. We know there was a lot of success in 2020. And so while the markets were trailing down, a lot of investors very upset. But what we have been talking about on this channel is how we are still bullish on the markets and we hold a long picture mentality. And we knew that this was all just part of a bigger plan. And so recently we have started to see some recovery in the markets. And so right now, we just like 2020, we had the great V recovery. Right now, it appears, oh my gosh, I'm trying to draw here. There we go. It appears that we are in a great W recovery. So we had that big bounce there. We came back down a little bit and we are bouncing back up. So we can see a nice, healthy bounce there. And it does look like we still have some room to run when it does look like the RSI. So overall, the markets are starting to recover. And overall, the markets have been recovering because of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt around the inflation, interest rates, and then also the tariffs has been getting better. And so the fear has started to subside a little bit. When we looked at this fear and greed index just weeks ago, we were all the way at the extreme fear levels. So now we are returning to greed. And again, this is because of the tariff announcements that we have been seeing lately have been more bullish. And so when the tariffs were initially announced, there was a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and many investors thought it was basically the end of the world. People online were jumping to crazy conclusions, thinking that the cost on avocados and other goods were going to be crazy priced. But as we have been saying on this channel, we have said that the tariffs are just a bigger negotiating tactic behind Trump, and we just need to give the president some time. And so most recently, as of last week, we saw that the US and the UK had a big deal. And so the markets did have a massive pop off of this news. And overall, the tariff situation between the US and the UK is again better than many investors were thinking initially. And so a lot of those tariffs were rolled back. And this is just something that, again, is bettering the stance over time for America and for just overall trade. Because, of course, nobody wants to be burned over time and nobody wants to be ripped off over time. So between the US and the UK, the trade deal is better there. And so next, we are looking at China, the big one right there that Trump always talks about with China. There has been talk that these two nations could finally have a meeting and the tariff situation between the US and China will get better. Overall, that fear, uncertainty, and doubt between the China and US tariffs are moving a lot of the market because we know the US has a lot of power with our consumer base, and then China has a lot of power with everything they export to other countries with the US and all that. So overall, the markets again are moving off of this big announcement with the pharmaceutical talk from Truth Social and just overall trade negotiations. And so we could see with this article that stocks and dollar are gaining on the US China trade talks. More details will be coming soon. And so just overall, the markets are starting to recover. And this is a big thing right here. So we've been talking a lot on this channel about Trump Media and Technology Group, ticker symbol being DJT, the president's initials. And so recently we have seen that large investors have significantly increased their stake in Trump Media by hundreds of millions of dollars. And, Trump has been saying that now is a great time to buy stocks. He just said this the other day with the US UK deal, and he said this just a couple weeks back when we started to see the beginning of the great W recovery, where he said that it was a great time to buy stocks. So the president is literally telling you that this is a great time to buy stocks. And as we could see, the large investors are listening to Trump. So DJT, a good opportunity there. We've been talking a lot about this stock on this channel. And with DJT, we have been talking about how we are at a major support in this stock. So we could see over the last year that this has been a high flying stock, but we have tapped on the support line many times and we are tapping right back on that support line. So with DJT, of course, a lot of what the president is doing can be reflected into the stock as well. On this channel, we talk about all the intrinsic value behind the stock, but many investors, of course, look at it as just a meme stock opportunity. And so the president, as he continues to save the markets, we should see a lot more momentum go into that stock as well, just like the major indexes as they continue to recover. So I just wanted to come on here and I just wanted to talk to investors about the big news that we saw today from Truth Social, because just 3 days ago, when Trump had that other big announcement that led to the US and UK trade deals, the markets absolutely exploded off of that. So the markets are reacting a lot again to these three factors, and that is interest rates, inflation, and then tariffs. And as of most recently, it does look like the trend is changing in the market. And so going forward, for all investors, what I recommend, of course, we do foresee a better trend coming. I do believe that the markets will continue to recover. Everything is starting to look better. But as a trader, I definitely encourage you to still have a good amount of risk mitigation. So just because we are starting to see a recovery here, try to maximize on profits, but again, still have a nice downside risk. Again, when we look at the fear and greed index, of course, we are now at 62. As of just weeks ago, we were in the extreme fear levels around 4. So it does look like there's been a trajectory change, but as some say, be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. So just have that in mind. Just because the markets are going up doesn't mean that they will go up forever, but also just because they are going up doesn't mean there will be a pullback. So myself, it's funny when it comes to the markets, I'm actually having more fun as they are going down, because I am buying into great plays and opportunities, knowing there will be a recovery. When the recovery does start to come, things get a little bit more nerve-wracking, because we just don't totally know the direction that it will go. But myself, as I've been saying for the entire time of this channel, I am bullish on the markets, and I do believe in the great melt-up theory. So I believe that we are going to continue to see the markets go up as they have been over the course of the last 100 years. Of course, there's little dips, but with each dip comes a greater recovery, and I believe that we are seeing that now. But I would be curious to hear what everyone else has to say. So please drop a comment in the section below. Please let me know if you're bullish or bearish on the markets. Please let me know if you think that this is just a rich guy buyout. That is where the market that is where a stock or the markets go down, go up a little bit, some bulls get trapped, and then it goes back down. So let me know if you think it's that, or if you do think this is the great W recovery. Also, please leave a like on the channel, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you all in the next video.